Obrigada pela presença, um prazer estar aqui, é uma alegria. Eu queria citar uma frase do seu livro 21 lições para o século XXI, que parece contraditória a princípio. Eu queria que você falasse um pouco dela, que é, vou falar em português, quanto maior é a potência da ciência, maior é a impotência da razão. Eu queria entender, quer dizer, o desenvolvimento da ciência faz com que o homem não tenha mais controle sobre a realidade? Queria que você falasse um pouco sobre isso. De que forma isso
Yes,
acontece?
I mean, new scientific discoveries and inventions are giving us immense power, but we don't necessarily have the understanding and the responsibility to use this power wisely. So we've seen it before, like with nuclear energy, that the scientists gave humans the power to either create very cheap energy or also to destroy the world with nuclear bombs. And most people, at least at first, did not really understand the technology and therefore lacked the ability to make reasonable decisions. And we are now seeing it again in an even more extreme form. Most people around the world, including most politicians, their understanding of artificial intelligence and biotechnology is very, very limited. Now, these two technologies in particular, artificial intelligence and biotechnology, bioengineering, they are really giving us divine powers of creation. They are really upgrading humans to be gods. And I don't mean this as a metaphor, but literally, we are acquiring abilities which traditionally were thought to be divine abilities. The ability to re-engineer and to create life. But the vast majority of people and politicians, they have a very limited understanding of the technology and its potential. And therefore, the danger is that we will not make wise decisions about how to use these technologies.
Eu queria falar um pouco sobre o trabalho de escrever os seus livros. Seus livros são extremamente comunicativos e eles comunicam ideias bastante complexas. E tem, a narrativa deles tem muito de ficção no sentido do ritmo, da escolha dos caminhos. E eu queria, então, saber se a literatura de ficção, em especial a ficção científica de autores como Orwell, Huxley e o Asimov, influenciam o seu trabalho de escrita.
Very much so. I mean, I think that my job is to kind of build a bridge between the scientific community and the general public. Many scientists are just engaged with their own deep research in various fields, from evolution or genetics or climate science or AI, and they write only for a small circle of other scientists. And we need people that will communicate the latest findings and theories of the scientific community to the general public, to serve as this kind of bridge. And to do that, you have to write and you have to talk in a way which will be not only easily accessible, but also interesting and captivating for the general audience. So you need to know science, of course, otherwise you're just conveying nonsense. But at the same time, you need also to master the techniques of literature in order to know how to reach the public. And science fiction is one of the genres that can teach us how to do it. And I think maybe today it's the most important artistic genre in the world, because most people, what they know about AI comes far more from science fiction than from science. And again, you can do it well or you can do it badly. I mean, science fiction can convey accurate ideas and theories, or it can mislead the public by focusing on the wrong issues. I'm afraid that in many cases, science fiction is not doing the best job. It, for example, focuses the attention of the public on completely unrealistic scenarios, like the most favorite scenario of science fiction books and movies dealing with AI is that the robots and computers suddenly gain consciousness and then rebel against the humans, and you have like a Terminator-like scenario, that the war between the robots and the humans. This is extremely unlikely to happen in the next few decades. There is no indication that robots or computers are anywhere on the road to gaining consciousness and rebelling against us. The real dangers of advances in AI are things like robots and computers pushing people out of the job market, or new technology empowering a government or a small elite to build a digital dictatorship. The robots are not evil, they don't rebel, they do exactly what the government tells them to do, but the government is evil, and the government is telling them to spy on everybody and to control everybody, and the problem is that the robots never rebel. And this is a far more scary and realistic scenario than most of the scenarios that science fiction is dealing with them. Like you look at the world over the last few years, so you see enormous interest in issues like immigration or like terrorism, and far less interest in questions relating to the rise of artificial intelligence. Even though AI is far more dangerous to the future of humanity than terrorism. So we need to change the conversation. Yes, we still need to deal with terrorism, it's still a problem, but comparatively, we should have far more attention focused on the rise of AI and what it will do to the economy and to the political system.
Dr. Paulo?
Professor, we are talking about... Desculpe. Professor, nós estamos falando sobre bilhões, mas eu tenho um viés do indivíduo. E eu consigo imaginar de que o meu maior terror não é perder o emprego pelo robô. É perder o sentido de viver. O sentido da minha identidade no mundo onde a informação do que eu vou fazer é ditada por uma média de bilhões e que não seja necessariamente a minha. E, paradoxalmente, existe uma associação entre o aumento da inteligência artificial e a ausência de problemas objetivos com o aumento da taxa de suicídios. Por exemplo, Israel, por exemplo. Israel, ele não é cercado por amigos, por vizinhos amigáveis, mas a taxa de suicídio em Israel vem caindo, ao contrário do que vem acontecendo no resto do mundo. E os países com menor taxa de suicídio são os que são menos beneficiados por essas maravilhas tecnológicas. O senhor acha que vai ter espaço para o humano nesse mundo de bilhões de informações para um indivíduo se sentir parte de um todo?
Yeah, that's maybe the most complicated question, even more than the economic or political issues, is what will happen to the meaning of life of individuals. Because we are used to thinking about human life as a drama of decision-making. Life is like a road, and every now and then you reach a junction, and you need to decide. And you know, so much of art focuses on that. Almost every Shakespeare play or every Hollywood comedy focuses on the hero or heroine needing to make a very important decision, to be or not to be, to marry Mr. X or to marry Mr. Y. And that's the entire narrative revolves around that. And similarly in religion. So also religions depict human life as a big drama of decision-making, that eternal salvation or damnation depends on making the right decision, the right choice. What happens to human life when more and more decisions are taken for us by the algorithm? What to study in university, where to work, whom to marry? I'm not deciding that. An algorithm is telling this to me because the algorithm knows better. Similarly, if I apply for a job, it's not a human being that decides whether to give me the job, it's an algorithm. And we don't have really models for understanding a human life in which most decisions are taken for you by an algorithm, by a computer that knows you better than you know yourself. I would almost say that we are facing a kind of philosophical and spiritual bankruptcy, because all the philosophical and religious models and spiritual models we have from the past, they tell us that decision-making, this is the big thing in human life. And they can't really conceive of a human life in which most decisions are taken for us by an algorithm. And I think this is not the responsibility of government. This is the responsibility of philosophers and poets and artists and individual people to explore that. What does it mean to live in such a situation? And we need a kind of almost philosophical revolution or spiritual revolution to deal with this kind of unprecedented development.
Eu queria, na verdade, completar a última pergunta. Queria saber se você... dois dos seus livros favoritos de ficção e de ficção científica e saber por que as pessoas são tão apaixonadas por você no Vale do Silício, que é justamente um dos pontos centrais da sua crítica. E será que eles entendem o que você fala?
Well, I'll try to answer briefly. I think they're interested because they understand they have enormous power in their hands, and they are not sure what to do with it. And they are realizing they have made some problematic decisions. And, you know, most of them are engineers. They have no background, or mathematicians. They don't have a deep background in history, in philosophy, in social sciences. And this also goes to your question. And our problem now is not the technology, it's the humans. Technology gives us immense power, but it's still up to us to decide what to do with it. And this is the job of the social sciences and the humanities. And I think that today philosophers are more important than any previous time in history, because many philosophical questions that for thousands of years were just theoretical questions, they are now becoming practical questions. Questions about the meaning of life, questions about free will, whether it exists or not, they are now very practical questions. So the people in Silicon Valley, they realize they need the philosophers and the historians. And I think also the people in the humanities and social sciences, they should realize they have an enormous responsibility now. And to fulfill that responsibility, they need to understand the technology better. Philosophers shouldn't be afraid of AI or of genetics. They should engage with it more. Now about science fiction, so maybe my favorite book is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, which is still, I think, the most prophetic book of the 20th century. So I would end by saying that I think it's now extremely important for the humanities and the natural sciences and computer sciences to work together, because only by working together we can take responsible decisions about what to do with AI and bioengineering.